let's start. A bit of housekeeping first. I want to mention that the event or this space is being recorded and that full interactivity with Twitter Spaces, as you may know, is only on the phone. So if you're on desktop, you can switch over so that you can speak and use some emojis if you're into that. We'll also have some attendance rewards for Metrics DAO. So we will share an attendance form in the comments halfway through the event. So that'll be right bottom, the text box there if you're on your phone. With this, you can claim some X metric and increase your reputation in our community and unlock challenges and other rewards. We also have an intro, like Metrics now has an intro webinar in Algorand later today. The webinar will be given by our education lead, Vaida, and we'll cover core concepts to get anyone up to speed on Algorand. So if you're interested in the Algorand blockchain, definitely check that out. Level up your expertise on this ecosystem and join the webinar. We'll drop the link in the comments now. Yep, so to talk about the structure of this space first, so we'll do the interview, then Q&A for 10 minutes. If you want to ask questions during the interview, you can ask it in the comments below on the bottom right again. And after the interview, you can ask your questions live. We'll bring you on stage, and you can do so. So without further ado, let's start. So welcome everyone. Behind the Charts is a series by Metrics now about the crypto data community. It serves as a way to get to know and feature some of the best data people in the crypto space, where that's analysts, data scientists, and data engineers alike. So if you're in data and crypto and you're doing well, we'll ask you to come on behind the charts and get to know more about you and your work. For Metrics now, as we seek to empower protocols and organizations in the crypto space, we find it important to empower the on-chain, people, the professionals, the analysts as well, and highlight their skills and talents. Our first guest for the new year is a very special one. He is none other than Hildobby, who might not need an introduction, but I'll do it anyway. Hildobby is the data guy crypto VC firm Dragonfly. You might have heard of them. He is known for several works in the NFT space, such as his landmark work on wash trading, bot-like airdrop dashboard releases. If there's an airdrop, he probably made a dashboard on it. Ethereum Gas, and his comprehensive Ethereum staking dashboard. His insightful analyses and informative Twitter threads, and with the occasional shitposts, don't know if I can say that, but I just did, so sue me, has garnered him more than 10K followers and 8.4 thousand Dune Analytics stars. If you don't know what Dune stars are, they are the measure of your worth as an analyst. No, just kidding. That's just a good way to measure how much value people are taking from the dashboards you build. So the more you have, good job. So he's ranked in the top three behind only the founder himself and OG crypto wizard, Richard Chen from One Confirmation. So he's probably your favorite analyst. Welcome, Hildobby.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me. And what a nice intro. Being very flattered.
So it's well deserved. Can you tell us a bit about yourself? How did you get into crypto and how did you get started in the crypto data space specifically?
Yeah, so I got into crypto by through an internship at a company called Kaiko back in 2019. It was around after, it was after my bachelor's, and I wasn't too sure what sector I wanted to work in or anything. I knew I was more of a data guy, I guess. So I started there, and then that's where I saw that this space was a bit more interesting than just trading tokens. You know, there's a lot more depth to it. So that's where I guess I started to get hooked. I then invested a bit of my money, so I kept closely monitoring everything. And I went back to do my masters in Amsterdam. And during my masters, I was always, as I say, monitoring the general space and see how it evolves. And as a data guy, I was interested to understand the blockchain through data by doing some analytics myself. And I guess at first I found it impossible because I need to run my own node and everything. And then I found out about Dune. I think now about 2 years ago, roughly, and that's where I started. I created my Dune profile without expectation of it doing well or anything. It was just at first for me to understand the blockchain and analyze through analytics, basically. And so I started there, and then it started gaining traction over time. So I started to capitalize on this, which really it really was a hobby of like understanding, but it quickly became something more. Eventually, I started freelancing. I think it started to get a big part of my work in November 2021. And in February 2022, so roughly a year ago, I actually dropped out of my master's because at that point I had my profile, my freelancing profile was getting pretty big, and I had enough work to sustain myself and live off, I guess, and continue building things. So my goal at that point was to keep freelancing up until I find a company that is right for me, from which I can work. So I kept doing that, and then in July, early July this year, no, last year, sorry, I joined Dragonfly as the first data scientist. So yeah, that's I guess that's the general story.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So first, it was just curious about, you wanted to query your own data or create your data on the blockchain, then did some freelance, then dropped out of your master's, and then now you're full time in Dragonfly. Looking back in that whole like journey of yours, was there ever like an aha moment or like a particular moment that made you decide that it's time to dedicate more time and effort into the space, like not do this, not fool around anymore, just just go all in.
Yeah, I think so. Like at first, it was really just me releasing data without much expectation, and then I think in November 2021, I started to get some messages from people I looked up to in the space, and I thought were well, I still think are pretty important, are important voices. So I thought, okay, if my work is getting recognized by those people, maybe I am getting somewhere, and it may be interesting to keep it going and even dedicate more time to it. I still had a part-time job alongside my studies at this point, so at this point I was still like mostly weekends that I spent working on Dune. But it slowly fizzled out into me working less and less on my part-time because it was an hourly contract basically, and then my studies. I also realized that if I want to do something for the next 6 months, the most valuable for me is probably to keep building my Dune portfolio because I believe that this is the space I want to work in, and it seems to be something people are liking. Whereas I think my CV wouldn't, a CV with the my finished masters wouldn't have gotten me um, as far as I have in those 6 months or a bit more that I had left. Actually, a bit more like 9 months. But yeah, so that's I guess that's the start of the aha moment. And then in February, when I took a pretty big decision of dropping out my studies, very controversial with my family and everything. I had been considering it for a for like a month or two, and then basically the answer when I mentioned it to my parents every time was like, "Hell no, don't do this." And then I was like, basically, I was kind of stubborn and was convinced that if I dropped out, it wasn't to do nothing. It was going to be like to double down and work extra hard on it up until um, I actually get where I want, and that's what I did. And I'm lucky enough to have been noticed by Dragonfly, where I now work.
Love it. So look at him now, Hildobby's family. He's now on top. He's now on top. So I'd say it was a good decision. Huh? So let's jump into like your workflow, right? The analytics process. How do you go about diving into a particular topic? Like you mentioned before and have repeatedly mentioned, that you are driven mostly by your curiosity. Like, care to expound on this?
Yeah, I think like most people who are looking for data, that's who I am, and whenever I try to look for, I don't know, well, recently I guess was trading data and try to see where I could find all this data easily, freely accessible in a easily digestible way, and more importantly in a through a transparent method. Because if you look through most analytics websites or places, I don't know, wherever you get your data, there's now quite a few places, but they all filter out wash trading for the most part. And then the thing is, when you look into it, you have no idea how or what they're actually doing. So I'm not a fan of this, especially in this blockchain space where, you know, the whole ethos is kind of transparency and everything. And I believe that data should be accessible to everyone, especially some important pieces of data like this. So I started to dive into it. It's actually an update to an old method following the LuxWare launch earlier last year, where I did a LuxWare specific method. Um, but I thought, okay, I can actually expand on this because now the market is a bit, it has shifted quite a bit since then. And then I also wanted to make sure that my method is, but one thing is I want to make sure it's fair and I'm not showing my stuff that like is associated with a specific bias I may have. We all have biases, but I try to be as fair as possible. And um, yeah, that's the tough bit when you present your data. You often get comments like, "Hey, like, why are you actually shilling this?" When I'm not shilling, it's just the data shows it is the best performing project or whatever. But that's just the way it is. I don't manipulate the data. But yeah, I'm just looking for data, and whenever I can't find it, I expose it, and I find it interesting also to understand the process of how this specific sector works. Lately, mostly NFTs. But if you look throughout my past year, also 2 years of analytics, you'll see I've done actually quite a bit of everything. So I'm very curiosity driven. I did some studies on gas. I did some stuff on staking, which you're probably very familiar with. And
Definitely,
and
definitely.
sorry, I meant you specifically, not everyone, as in like you from Rated. But yeah, we can come back to this later. But yeah, it's all like me trying to understand the sector, unable to find the data, and being like, okay, well, if it's not there, I'll get it myself, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. You have a question in mind, can't find the data, I'll do it myself. That's a nice meme for it. And how have you used this curiosity-driven approach in your work, in your day-to-day at Dragonfly? Like, actually, what can you give us more of an insight of what you do actually at Dragonfly?
Yeah, so at Dragonfly, what I do is mostly what I used to do, but from within Dragonfly. So it is trying to expose the data I find interesting that isn't currently out there. So that's the major part of my work, I guess, continuing what I used to do, and it's also why I signed at Dragonfly. It was kind of I really enjoy my independence on my research and my the fact that I can kind of study what I think is interesting. So this freedom is really cool to have. And then I have also, we have quite a few portfolio companies that may need, especially when early stage, may need some support. It may be surfacing data, getting them I don't know, getting them someone they're looking for a freelancer or to hire a data guy or yeah, all kind of support or just questions. I'm also kind of knowledgeable about Dune in general, so I often get questions
Kind of,
about
right?
kind of, yeah. I often get like Dune specific questions or stuff like, hey, we want to query this on Dune, but it's actually not currently in Spellbook. Do you think you could help us out? And what I'll try to do is to do that on Spellbook, so create the abstraction for that to be easily analyzable for them, but also usually. tie this into me also releasing some data around whatever I worked on, I guess. So this is a big part. Yeah, this is most of my work really, and then also of course due diligence. So whenever a partner at Dragonfly um, is running some due diligence and wants some help from the analytics standpoint, then I'll help them out and see what I can find on that specific company. For example, it might a protocol with a lot of volume might not mean the same thing if it's coming from 3 users than if it's coming from 10,000 users, right? So I try to look through the data and make sure nothing is looking too suspicious and it's looking like mostly like it's looking like organic usage, I guess.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty cool because you get to do a lot of the stuff you did before in freelancing, but with more targeted companies, which I assume are like, much more vetted by Dragonfly. And so it's like a very nice peek into how the industry might evolve because you get to see some early stage companies uh, as they're developing and growing. And then you also do like a lot of company research on those established already. So that's pretty cool. So you mentioned it earlier already, NFT wash trading, right? Let's dive into some of your favorite works and your top industry topics you tackled. So with the wash trading, you ended 2022 with a bang. Like you released this update to your methodology in December of last year, referenced by publications like The Defiant and Cointelegraph. Like, so with wash trading, could you define what it is and the reasons behind why it's important to surface this topic or this type of work in the NFT like trading world?
Yeah. So wash trading, I'm not sure. I might get the definition slightly wrong, but basically in NFTs, it's the concept of trading usually with yourself through two accounts you own a specific NFT in order to either increase your reward on whatever platform you're trading on that has trading rewards. So, like LuxRare X2Y2 have their token as a reward incentive for trading on the platform. And people quickly realize that like if you can actually game the system by wash trading and actually get profit off of it, basically. So it's a profitable strategy, I guess, to do this if you do it right. But and also some people will do it in order to have their NFT collection, appear higher on rankings, whatever ranking that is. It could be OpenSea's ranking. So, for example, I think around October last year, OpenSea disabled Solana collections from their big rankings because they were like too many of these collections are being wash traded and it's just inorganic. So we don't want to show false information. So I guess trying to remove all of this was my goal, and I believe that volume used to be a very well. It's a metric that is heavily relied upon. It can be there's arguments to be said about it not being the best metric. That's something, but it is relied upon, and it became quite inaccurate following all this wash trading that happened last year. So I yeah, I wanted to have a method for everyone to easily restore the truth, I guess.
Restore the truth. I like that. So you basically try to clean up the data that's out there on volume, right? With this, with wash trading. That's funny.
Exactly. Yeah. And then like I so the my story did surprisingly well. So I'm very happy with everything and how it got mentioned by a bunch of journals. But the goal overall for me was I actually want to look into NFT data and as for all data, you need to filter out the bad data. So I think that was the first step before I could dive into the rest. So I'm still working on some NFT data, which will be coming. I release some more as well. So yeah, I
Ooh,
think
sneak
starting
peek.
with a good baseline is important.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's ironic that you're cleaning up data with something called wash trading. Uh, is there actually a benefit to wash? Might be a weird question, but is there actually a benefit you think to wash trading both from an exchange and platforms perspective and the wider market itself? Or is just wash trading like just bad all around?
I think early on when people weren't really looking into it, you could see the benefit of it makes us look better because we have higher volume on either an exchange perspective or an NFT collection perspective. But I guess that quickly turned around because people saw the volume looking very suspicious. I think Looks Rare had instantly when it launched like more volume than OpenSea, which sounded pretty, I guess, insane. So people were very suspicious of this, and it quickly, I guess, backfired into, I would say, a pretty poor look. I wouldn't say that wash trading is generally uh, looked at as a good thing. Um, so in terms of benefits, you as a trader, I guess you can if some of them are profitable, but the legality of it is in a gray area right now. So
Mhm.
I don't think I don't think it's a good idea in general to do it. But you do you, and you decide what you do with your own NFTs and your own money, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Numbers might look good, and numbers might not lie, but they don't tell the whole story, as we learned with this
Exactly.
wash trading work. That's awesome. Um, let's move to the next big work that you did, ETH staking. So your comprehensive dashboard details the staking landscape basically across like ETH staking service providers, like the exchanges like Coinbase, Kraken, Binance, and also across liquid staking derivatives like Rocket Pool and Lido. I imagine this had to involve like a lot of manual work, right? In checking the chain, verifying addresses, speaking to third parties, because it's not like um, these exchanges and these providers just enumerate all their wallets or all their contracts that they use for staking. Like, so after all that work, what were the most illuminating insights you've gathered on the ETH staking landscape itself? Like, how does it look like now, and how do you think the market structure will evolve? So let's start with
Okay, that's a tough question, especially coming from you.
that. No, no,
uh,
we're here to learn.
no, I think so. First off, I was surprised. I'm not sure when I made the dashboard, but somewhere around mid last year, I would say. And I was surprised at the time how little data there was on staking, although it's actually a very important part of Ethereum, and there was already at that point already like 8% stake probably, which is a pretty big portion of ETH. And so my approach was to look at every single place I could find staking data on. So it includes I don't know labeling from maybe some Nansen wallets, some Etherscan snooping, some uh, yeah, so many things. Looking on GitHub, searching for addresses, trying to get as many as of the top addresses identified as possible, but also trying to be careful to not mislabel. That often is a thing that can happen if you're not careful. Um, I actually have an update to that dashboard coming.
Ooh,
Probably I don't know, not maybe not today, but probably tomorrow or something. But where I basically there's some maintenance work to it where you need to constantly add more um, staking, both liquid staking protocols, staking pools, and central exchange. So yeah, there's some maintenance to it, but I think it's actually one of the things that interested me most when I did it because kind of like the wash trading is it's not just surfacing data, but it's actually trying to make sense of it and trying to understand the protocols, how they work, trying to label them into different sections, which also can be hard because there's not really a hard limit. Some staking pools are actually kind of central exchanges, but I try to differentiate the two where with a staking pool being, I guess, more decentralized. It's I don't know, it's tough, but so you make some assumption and hopefully it works. It seems to have worked pretty well. People seem to be happy with my dashboard, so I'll keep going and keep updating it. In terms of trends, that's a good one. I don't know how prominent Lido is always however much you look at it is it's always pretty impressive. I would say, especially not just in the overall landscape, but even just in the liquid staking
Yep.
portion of staking. You know, it's just incredible how big they are. And um, in terms of other things, I think uh, one other thing that I guess I'm more I often guess questions, for example, for Coinbase, why am I not including them in liquid staking? And it's because they actually also have sent like just normal staking without liquid staking derivative token, and you can choose afterwards, since a few months ago, to withdraw that stake into a liquid staking derivative, but it's actually just a small portion of it, and most of it is still on Coinbase. So looking into the data, I was like, okay, well, it's still basically mostly central exchange staking, so I might as well just keep it as is rather than split it into two and make it more confusing to look at. Um, yeah, it's I don't know. There's a I think the most important part is I'm actually monitoring it and making sure it's up to date leading up to the Shanghai upgrade.
Hmm.
I think stuff is going to get pretty interesting. I have some assumptions, I guess, of things that I see happening, like the fact that some people think it's going to lead to staking to decrease, like the amount of ETH stake to decrease. I completely disagree. I think it's going to lead to the opposite, but there's, I guess, arguments for both. So I think I'm actually very interested to look into how liquid staking market share evolves during well post Shanghai upgrade. That's that's something that I don't know. I find I'm pretty curious about.
Yeah, yeah. And for our listeners, might not know what the Shanghai upgrade is. It's the next hard fork, and basically withdrawals will be enabled. So you can withdraw your stake, transfer it, or and as Hildobby mentioned, yeah, there are arguments for both, right? Like the stake might increase or decrease depending how you look at it. But I also agree that with the withdrawals being activated, the whole life cycle of a validator will be complete because now you can enter and exit, which might lead to more confidence for people putting their money in ETH staking. So definitely, yes, you're right. Something exciting to monitor and watch out. Um, you'll have more work in your hands monitoring and making the dashboard up to date. But
Yeah.
exciting, exciting work uh, nonetheless. Um, yeah, so that's ETH staking. This next one, your next work, Ethereum Gas. You mentioned earlier as well, one of the things you enjoyed working on, and it gets referenced a lot. That your Ethereum Gas dashboard on Dune gets referenced a lot by big crypto personalities such as Anthony Son of the Daily Gwei and Bankless and other publications. Like, how does it feel to have your work get recognized this way as a valuable resource? And does it ever get old for you um, after like the X dashboard?
So I think it is like uh, it is an achievement in a way. It means your work is valuable. So I don't think it gets particularly old. It probably, you know, it doesn't have as much of an impact as the first time you see your work being featured somewhere, of course. But I still like really appreciate it, and I think it's really cool to have your work featured somewhere, and whatever that is, that can be on podcasts, like you mentioned, could be in other publications, or just people using my work when creating other analytics pieces or whatever, or research. So whenever my work gets mentioned, I think it's really cool, and I guess it's a big part of what keeps me going. You know, making a um, yeah, it means my work is useful. So that's what I aim to do, and yeah, it's great to see it, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. You also had a recent tweet where you said you can easily make out this past year's most notable crypto events by looking at Ethereum gas usage. I think you mentioned this like over a week ago. Do you expect future events to continue to be reflected in ETH gas, despite the push towards, the migration of user activity to layer twos like Optimism and zk Sync, and all the other scaling solutions?
I think I don't think so. I think this year was well, past year was a particularly weird year. You can, the major things you can spot are like the mint for other side, which was basically clogged Ethereum for a day. Where if you
Oh
want to
yeah.
do anything, you had to I think pay like 1.5 ETH minimum in gas. But that's just,
Eesh.
I think you can notice them for the past year where there probably wasn't as much activity as the previous year. But if you look through 2021, if you look at like the comments of actually that tweet, you'll see like on 2021, someone asked me, can you do the same for 2021? And it actually, you can't really make out anything because there isn't as notable big gas spikes. It's more of a it obviously changes over time, but there's no major three or major fives that stick out, I would say, other than
Mm.
maybe the COVID crash, which led to a lot of people withdrawing or whatever. So there was a lot of activity then, but it's not nearly as noticeable as it was for 2020, 2022. And my expectation is that going forward, it will be less and less noticeable as the chain and chains, whatever, whether it's just
Mhm.
mainnet or you factor in L2s, which I think should be the case. But that's a different story. I'll focus on this later. Uh, I think yeah, it'll be much harder to make out those notable events, just because there'll be more things happening, and there'll be a lot more noise to make out from, and that's a good thing. It means increased usage. But that's my bullish scenario on EVM usage, I guess.
Do you have a bear scenario?
Well, I wouldn't be working in this industry if I had a very bearish scenario. I guess the bearish scenario is it takes a while to recover. But for me, it's hard to see a time like a future where we don't eventually recover from the some of the shit show that happened last year and
Mhm.
actually come out stronger. And I also expect that I also think that like regular, um, like removing the bad actors regularly, like this, is just a necessary step in the growth of blockchains. So it is painful for everyone involved, but
Mhm.
I think we'll come out stronger and actually be a good evolution for the next bull run, if there's one or whatever. If maybe it's a slow growth over a long period of time. I don't know, but I'm generally bullish and think uh, blockchain usage will just increase over time on a macro scale.
Love it. You heard it here, folks. 2022 was a weird year, and blockchain usage will just increase over time. Is there is there any other work of yours or topics that we didn't talk about so far that you think deserves more attention?
More attention, not necessarily, but like I think
Or
one of
or
the
or, or maybe some topics that you think are
I think one of the thing I personally enjoy, but it was more of a like just a thing I enjoyed, not necessarily as long term useful. It's especially when I throughout like when I was a freelancer, I was doing a lot of those airdrop dashboards, and that was a big part of I think how my name got out there a bit more because it is at the moment if you're quick enough, which was my challenge. My challenge was to get the data as quickly as possible following the airdrop, which I kind of enjoyed the challenge of it. And if you're the first to do it, people will be curious on the day. They want to know, okay, how much has been claimed. Well, because that way they can base, I don't know, if price goes up, price goes down, or whatever, and use those metric however they want. Also, if the airdrop is successful, has it been claimed or is it largely unclaimed? Um, those are all interesting metrics, both for users claiming those airdrop, but also often for the protocols themselves. I think, for example, ENS appreciated my work. Optimism as well, and I did some others. But yeah, I just enjoyed the challenge. It wasn't necessarily for long-term data that like sticks around and you often look into. But yeah, it's just a fun little thing I enjoyed doing.
Yeah. Do you think we'll see more airdrops? I heard that not really a good mechanism. I think so, someone from your company mentioned that.
The wait, what did someone from Dragonfly mention?
Or something about airdrops and they're not really a good what,
Yeah. I know what you're.
I'm trying to think of the exact quote. It's escaping me right now.
No, I think the quote you're looking for is airdrops are generally kind of pointless anyways, and
Yeah, yeah.
it's
My favorite. My
it's
favorite quote from Schmidt.
exactly. It's from Tom, and it's on the I think it's part of the intro of the chopping block,
The chopping block. Yeah, yeah.
which is a podcast. And yeah, yeah. And I guess I largely agree. It's mostly like a I mean, I'm all for airdrop. I'm happy to receive them, but in general, I don't think it's not necessarily a long-term sustainable plan, right? It's uh, you really have your chance at one of them as a protocol project company, whatever,
Mhm.
and it's mostly a marketing event, I would say. Um, so you have some very successful ones that actually do really well in marketing. I think ENS, for example, led to quite an increase in registration for ENS names. So I would see this one as mostly probably positive on the day, but then what is the usage of ENS afterwards? The ENS token, you know, it's governance, but then um, it's a bit shallow. It's probably a bit shallow of a token. And there's a lot of tokens like this where, hey, we released that token. Here you get X amount, and that's worth X amount. Everyone is super happy, but then the token just is kind of useless and not actually really needed. And that's true for a lot of protocols. I think we'll see more in the future, but you know, now is just not the right time for it. I think the only one that's like publicly known to happen soon is the Blur airdrop at the end of January, and
Mm.
NFTs are doing surprisingly pretty well, despite the times of following like all these fallouts and stuff. But when markets fully recover and things are better, macro environment looks better, I believe we'll be back to your regularly scheduled regular airdrops.
Mm. And hopefully we get to build more sincere communities if once the airdrop mechanism gets improves over time, as opposed to
Yeah. No,
yeah.
I think I'm saying this like I think airdrops are kind of pointless anyway. Is a quote mostly of the current times. We have like plenty of ways to potentially improve on. I don't know, you know, like a lot of things. It's hard to tell what will become big in the future and what will not. Um, so it's always hard to tell how things will work, but I think it's interesting to monitor all this, and also you see an evolution. And you know, the first airdrop was Uniswap, who just allocated 400 uni to all the people who used Uniswap in the past. But you see people, it actually evolved quite a bit since then. Airdrops are quite a bit more complex in terms of who you reward, trying to filter out Sybil attackers, trying to make it so that you know it's way appropriately, but it's not also all going towards like three people. So it's getting more interesting. I also like I think Hop and
Yep, yep.
uh, and
They're
who else?
called.
Wait, um, there was another protocol I forgot, but they did for a month. They basically gave out their list of airdroppees and say, "Hey, can you help us filter out Sybil attackers?" I
Yeah,
think that
yeah,
was
yeah.
actually pretty interesting because
Like an
as a
anti. It was an anti-civil bounty, right? Sorry to interrupt you.
exactly, yeah, exactly. So I think the way it worked is you could basically if you can prove the address or the set of addresses that you mentioned are Sybil attackers, then you get 25% of what those addresses would have gotten. So it's also probably an incentive for Sybil attackers to like, okay, now I'm just going to declare all my wallets are Sybil attackers and get 25% of the reward rather than nothing. But I guess it's it's part of the evolution and it's evolution in the right direction.
Yeah, it's an evolving space, yeah, for sure. Um, Shifting gears a bit, at Mathematics Now we're also big on building communities, and I noticed that you're also big on promoting like other analysts and other work using your platform on Twitter, and uh, you promote other people and other in their work as well, from the big crypto data people like uh, Elias, my boss, shout out to my boss, Kofi, to those with to those also with relatively smaller followings, like but equally as good analysts like Marco V and Aga Perste, I still don't know how to pronounce it properly. But and I've been lucky enough as well to get a few mentions from you, and uh, kind of a what I remembered from your story from earlier when you were getting your aha moment, getting recognition from other prominent people in the space. You actually also DM'd me when I first released my first few dashboards on convex and whole curve wars, and said I did a good job and everything, and that meant quite a lot, and it made me think I was on the right path. So all this to say that you clearly don't discriminate in terms of following or who you promote. I was wondering, like, what's the reason behind this? Like, why is this promotion or say uplifting of other stellar works and other people important to you?
I think the reason I do this is because when I was a smaller voice in the space and trying to grow, I saw people doing the same to me and reaching out and just being like super cool and um, so many of the people you see in the leaderboard when I wasn't in the top few, then when they saw me, I guess, climb up the leaderboard, they often reached out. I actually met a lot of people by from Dune Analytics, like a lot of wizards on Dune Analytics, because they reach out and say, "Hey, I like your work. Like, what is your plan and stuff like this?" And actually hop on a call sometimes with me. I was like, "That's insane! Like my work is getting recognized by other people, and it makes it seem to me like I'm doing something that is useful, you know." And I kind of first, as now I have probably a bigger voice in the space, I want to replicate that and shout out good work. I think it doesn't matter where you're from, who you are, whatever fun you're from, however many followers you have or whatever. It's just like good work is good work, and um, it's a good thing both for the analyst because first it may lead that person to keep going rather than stop. You know, if no one tells you anything about your work,
Yep.
then like what's your incentive to keep going? Maybe you're doing something wrong. But also for people that I believe like my following is mostly based on people interested in looking into analytics. So they're probably interested in looking into what I find interesting. So I think it's just positive for everyone. And I also want to make sure the analysts stick around in the space and don't go somewhere else because they didn't see their work doing too well.
Yeah, I love that. He's a dashboard builder and a community builder.
I
Uh,
like to be honest. I try to like do this very not too much because I don't think it wouldn't be valuable if like and also not a good
yep.
spending of my time to like just DM everyone who does analytics. Hey, I like your stuff. But when I really enjoy something, I'll DM it and try to meet the person, try to understand and help them out if maybe they're smaller and trying to make to break into the space. And also, you mentioned earlier how genetic stars are representative of how good you are on Dune. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think
That,
it's
that was a
it's
joke. That was a joke, by the way. But
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, no, I know, but like maybe people don't fully get that. It's a measure of how much likes you get, but it's not. It doesn't necessarily.
Yep.
It's not an end all metric where dashboards that cover like a widely looked on topic will get more likes, but actually people who dig really deep into specific protocol won't get as many likes, but it doesn't make the work less valuable. I think
Yeah,
uh, I think it's just there's different kinds of analysts, and but yeah, stars are a part of the picture, but not the entire picture is what I want to say.
yeah, yeah. The work, good work is good work, right? Maybe it's just a matter of reach. Like, has it
Yeah.
reached like a lot of people to get the stars? We mentioned Dune a lot. Shout out Boxer, who's listening right now. Hello. Uh, so we're just about to wind down here. You had a big 2022. Aside from the stellar work mentioned that we talked about, you landed a full-time job at one of the leading crypto VC firms to be, the beta guy they have. Hit 10K followers on Twitter, hit 8.4 thousand Dune stars, starting from what, 6,000, 5,000? I don't know. Rank three now all time. He got reference in multiple publications, both crypto native like The Block, Blockworks, Cointelegraph, to say even more mainstream places like Bloomberg. Multiple features, podcast publications as well. Like with all this, like what do you have planned for 2023? Um, any big expectations or what have you?
I think my general idea of things is I get bored if I keep doing the same thing, so I try to one up myself, every time and make
Mm,
sure my next work is either the best I've done yet or at least on par with the previous one. Um, and also, um, uh, yeah, like I have quite some plans. The thing is, I also over plan where I can't do everything I want to do, but that's a good thing because throughout the year I pick, okay, what's the best thing for my backlog that I can do now. I even have, I think, in the like I have like staging dashboard which I build in,
yeah,
and I have like 10
I
of
saw a
them.
tweet of that. Yeah, thank you,
Uh,
saw it.
Exactly, and they're all like partly filled, but I only want to release them when I'm really happy with everything that's in there. It's not, majorly missing some view or like skewing the point of view and try to be as fair as possible, exposing all the data that is out there. Um, so yeah, my plan is to keep doing what I do and probably more in terms of I don't want to say anything because otherwise I need to commit to it. Uh, yeah, maybe more content wise, I might look into doing like some podcast or some more analytics. I think the wash trading analytics I did lately, the article was kind of an eye opener for it being like something I'm actually interested in and I should do more of. Um, but yeah, I don't want to tell you anything specific, but I guess more of what I do and probably keep doing better, hopefully, or at least that's the goal.
Keep doing what you do better. Yeah, give me more of that generic stuff. I was kidding. Yeah.
And I'm coming for Richard's spot
Oh, so
now.
just Richard? Just Richard?
No, no, no.
Come
Richard and
on.
Frederick, of course, of
Oh,
course.
of course. Going to the top, folks. Let that be a warning shot. Any advice to analysts or data people who are starting out in the space, or even in general, like advice to analysts entering 2023? What would you advise them? Best
Um,
practices or what or whatever.
So on previous times I was asked this question, I mentioned a lot about like presentation, which I still think is very important. You want to get your work as concise as possible and as easy to digest. When I search on whatever platform I search for, I don't know, staking data. When I click on the dashboard, I directly want to see what I expected. I don't want to have to scroll. I don't want any like blob about just explaining everything. Like I'm probably just looking for the data, and if I want to look for something else, I'll look somewhere else. So that's my number one. And then number two, I think a lot of analysts are getting lost into a thing where they try to pump out as many dashboards as possible. I don't think that's the right approach. I think it's much more, it'll come back to you much better if you focus on one dashboard for a really long time and make sure it's like as good as can be. and you're actually surfacing something new rather than try to pump out 10 dashboards that are actually all rehashing stuff that everyone knows and is already out there in some other places. So yeah, focus on work that is actually you think has value and isn't currently out there, and that will do a lot better. And it's not just about dashboard. There's also just newsletters, analytics, your viewpoint on things, and maybe surfacing some thoughts that you think aren't being properly addressed. Um, so there's a lot of stuff, and there's a ton of stuff to analyze on even just Ethereum, but you can expand to so many chains. Yeah, so just focus on what you're curious about and you think is also if you want to grow as an analyst and make your voice bigger, what other people want to see. There's also you can focus on trends and what is currently talked about quite a bit, but probably hasn't got the data to back up the discussion. You can actually be pretty valuable in that.
Nice. So we're here. Presentation's very important. Meet expectations of what people want to see. If it's data they want, sorry, to show the data, don't go around it. Quality over quantity, right? Focus on
Yeah,
one valuable one as opposed to like 10 rehashed ones. I also heard like use other media, dashboards, newsletters, blog posts,
yeah. I think
and
I'm not saying use other media. I'm saying use the media that is best
use the
suited for you.
media.
Yeah,
Right.
I think
Yeah, yeah.
Coffee, for example, who just joined the space, actually is
Shout out
pretty,
Kofi.
pretty, pretty big on like he had a whole newsletter that was actually really interesting and got his voice much bigger in the space, and that was a different approach to start up with making dashboards. So there isn't just one path. Like make your own path and just try to fill a gap where you think you can be helpful.
Yep, yep, for sure. One of the last questions. What is the biggest change in the coming year you're hoping to see in the industry, whether that's crypto data or crypto in general?
Ooh, okay, there isn't one. Oh, wait, I'm trying to think if there's one specific. So some exciting narratives coming into the year are clearly staking with the upgrade coming, the Shanghai upgrade coming. I think I believe we'll see an increase in stake, like I mentioned before, and I look forward to monitoring and taking a close look on the data. I also hope that layer twos, whatever, whichever they are or whatever, kind of keep scaling as they do, and you see like if you look at transaction count and most other metrics, they're actually almost quite a few, like notably Optimism and Arbitrum are growing quite a bit, and I hope that keeps going. I do believe that's the case. That will be the case. Uh, yeah, I think so. Scaling, um, and then also if we can't make out the events from the year from a gas chart, I think that's a good thing. It means there's a lot going on, and I guess looking back, it would be a decent proxy for okay, this year was actually notable. Either nothing happened or a lot of stuff happened, and it became very blurry what happened. Like looking into 2021, where if you look at the gas, it's kind of sporadic and not very. There isn't any clear patterns, contrary to 2022.
That's actually funny. If we can't see any patterns in gas, it's good. And also, layer twos, do you hear that? Hildobby's rooting for you. Let's go. Let's scale. Let's go into some audience Q&A. I think there's someone who's requesting to ask Hildobby a question. Uh, no, is there anyone? Metrics now. Is there someone who wants to ask a question? Do you have someone?
Hello.
Oh, there. Who's that?
Oh, that
Who's
was
gonna
me.
speak?
May I speak? I see you have two speakers on here.
Okay, let's go. Let's go with you, Santa.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for everyone for uh, this amazing space so far. My question really regards to Hildobby in your start to Dune analytics, crypto data analytics. When you were getting started, did you know SQL or did you know um, statistics, or were you kind of entering into a new field where you were just really, enjoyed working with the data and discovering insights from it? And then I guess my other question would be a similar subject is looking back on your journey that you've taken. Uh, is there anything you wish you may have done different, or would tell someone else who's aspiring to get a role similar to yours and on a journey and shares the passion of discovering insights from data, um, maybe to take a certain step a different way than you did? Thank you.
Yeah, so those are good questions. When I started, had some, I had studied quite a bit of data work, data analytics and stuff, and I was working at a company where I did some modeling for time series. But I did not know any SQL at all. I started my work on Dune, which wasn't seen as work for me. I started by just forking other people's queries and just it was mind blowing to me. I could just change the smart contract address and like I don't know see the data for that ERC20 rather than another one. And I started from there. I had no idea what the hell I was doing, but I tried to figure out by playing around with the data. Um, I struggled to get my voice out there early on. I think from like the first half of like 2021, like I struggled to get my voice out there. But I believe that is also a good part of the process. It can be a bit frustrating, but failing is part of I guess what makes you grow. And I learned a lot from some of my work that didn't do well. I learned a lot from failing to sometimes you just expose wrong data and your data is wrong, and that's part of it. But as long as you evolve and move past it, um, these are all positive developments, I think. um, so no one is like I didn't just straight away have people looking at my work or anything. It took a bit of time and a bit of work, and uh, I think that is a good part of it. What if you have like one hit wonders, it's great, but it actually may skew your view on things and makes you think, okay, well, I can just replicate that. But actually, you kind of got lucky where you hit the mark, but for reasons you might have not known, and now you keep failing. So my my suggestion is, if you're passionate about this, keep going and just keep one-upping yourself and making sure your work is better, trying to learn from your mistakes. So yeah, learning from my mistakes is probably the biggest thing. I appreciate looking back, and if I had to do anything different, no, I don't have any particular regrets, I don't think. Um, maybe maybe I could double down sooner, but it wouldn't have been as smart of a move because at the time I wasn't as like um, confident my stuff would do well. No, I'm happy. I failed early on quite a bit and learned from it. Didn't know SQL, learned throughout. I actually had some comments. I remember when I published my first few dashboards, I actually started doing well. I had some comments like, "Hey, this is actually horrible. Like, why would you code like this?"
Jeez.
and 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 yeah, I remember this, and then I just learned from it and like kept improving my skills. Um, yeah, it's like time is the best thing for learning. There's no better thing than spending time analyzing. Um, the best asset an analyst has is understanding the blockchain, and the only way to get better at it is just spend time doing it, and that's my whole recommendation.
Yep. No overnight success. Gotta keep grinding. Hildobby, I'm wary of time. You good for one more live question? Or
Yeah, of course, of course.
yeah. Scofie? Scofie? Scofie, you're up. Mm, if yeah, there we go.
Uh, Sorry. Yeah, yep. I had one question. How will I be able to use my data analytics skills to get a job in blockchain?
Yeah, well, if you look at some of the people here that like are analysts, we all, I think most of us got a job by just publishing stuff from on our own and then eventually having our work getting noticed and this turning back into a positive development where now people want to hire you because hey, you can do this and it's a skill that is still pretty niche. So just that like that's a big thing. If you don't want to get hired, there's also freelancing work that uh, will come your way if you do good work. And yeah, it's just you get more attention towards you, and that's a positive development because it makes you grow in your career and shows off that makes you a better analyst because yeah, it's I'm not sure exactly how to what else you get from it, but if this is something that interests you and you want to grow in, it's just the more analytics, the better you get at it, and the more people will want to work with you, hire you, pay you for freelancing gigs. Um, yeah, that's what I was looking for, at least, I guess.
Yeah, gotta show the work to get the work, right? Proof of work, as they say.
Exactly.
uh, thank you. Thank you for that question. Uh, sorry we couldn't get more questions aboard. We're just wary of time. Maybe you can reach out to Hildobby directly. Actually, Hildobby, if people want to reach out, how should they contact you or reach out to you?
I think Twitter DMs, and then I'm also you can on Discord. I'm available. All my if you go on my Dune profile, you'll see all my contacts. I think I have Twitter, Telegram, and GitHub on the. Oh no, I'm sorry, and Discord on there. So all those three are very good ways to reach me. And if it's not like there's a lot of spam and stuff. If it's not spam, I'll usually respond.
Awesome. His DMs are open, folks. Just don't give him spam. Thank you, Hildobby, for sharing us some very valuable insights and giving us a behind the scenes look on how you work and produce your stellar analyses. I definitely learned a lot. Thank you so much. Um, Thank you to everyone who listened. Claim that X metric and unlock some bounties, some of the challenges and more. Can't say the B word. Before we close out, some announcements again. We have an intro. We Metrics have an intro webinar Algorand later today. Link in the comments. We have more courses as well available and coming. If you want to level up your SQL skills or your data analytics skills in general, we have a Web3 Analytics 101 course as well, a course on Near, a course on Ethereum if you want to learn more about those blockchains, especially Ethereum. The link to the overview of these courses will be in the comments, which we'll drop the link right now. So once again, thank you, Hildobby. Thank you, everyone. For the next Behind the Charts, stay tuned. We'll be with another person who you might be familiar with, especially if you've been attending the recent DeFi Llama spaces and have encountered his stellar works such as roll-up economics and trending contracts. You probably know him, Kofi. Shout out Kofi. We'll have him next on our Behind the Charts series. So follow us on Twitter to get the announcement and when that'll happen. Go to our Discord, even better, to join our community. We'll drop the link again to our Discord. And yeah, um, that's it. Thank you,
Thanks
everyone.
again for having
Of
me.
course, thank you, Aloy. Thank you so much. And see you on the charts. No,
Thank you,
doesn't
thank
work.
you.
That
You
doesn't
too.
work. I'll have to I have to think of a better closing. But yeah, thanks everyone. Have a good day.
Bye bye.
Bye.